Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another 4chan Stories video, and today I've got an exciting video for you guys. You guys have been asking for some Skinwalker stories for a very long time, and I'm here to finally deliver, and these are some 4chan Skinwalker Encounters. I can't wait to read these for you guys. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you like this. Comment down below if you'd like to see more in the future, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's the channel's goal to be at 500,000 subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel. And all right, I'm really excited to get into these Skinwalker stories. They are my favorite, and they seem to be your guys' favorite. So get ready. They're going to be creepy. They're going to be scary, and I just hope you enjoy. And anyways, without further ado, let's get into some 4chan Skinwalker Encounters. Well, I have a story from when I was about 14 years old. I'm in my 30s now, so I can't say every line is perfectly accurate, but you'll get it. Also, all names are fake. Don't be mad. Be me. Be obsessed with outdoorsy shit. Be in Cub Scouts as a young boy and currently in Boy Scouts. Want to be an Eagle Scout so badly. I knew every goddamn knot in the book. One week, a bunch of us go camping into some woods in bumfuck Indiana, as Boy Scouts tend to do. We're a troop of 12 kids. One of the kids' dad was our scout leader. He was there too. So we set up our tents probably about a mile into the woods, and we just F around all day the first day. Me and two kids go out on a secret mission to see if we could find the river. We'll call the kids Steve and Logan. So we're just walking along the path when Logan decides he wants to race us. He bolts ahead and we chase after him. He looks right and comes to a complete stop, just staring at something in the trees. We get up to him and look. There's a deer smashed against a boulder. This thing looks like it got hit by a semi. We go up to look at it, but immediately turn away due to the smell. It's starting to get kind of dark. We're not supposed to leave the group. We run back to the campsite as fast as our little feet can carry us. Stay up for hours talking about the deer to the other kids. Next morning was canoe day. We all walked down the same path the three of us went down yesterday. I tried to see the deer as soon as we reached that part of the trail. It's gone. Not the deer itself, the entire boulder was missing. This thing was the size of a goddamn minivan, and something moved it away. Silently freak the F out and keep walking. Get down to the building with all the water gear in it. Scout leader counts how many of us there are in order to get the right amount of canoes. He gets out 5 3-seater canoes. We all get in and one of the kids rides with them to break the odd number of scouts up. Get back on dry land and begins walking back to the campsite. Talk about the canoeing shit on the way back. Logan, Steve, and I were in one of the first boats to leave. So we start asking everyone who they were with. Most of the kids are able to say who they canoed with, and of course the scout leader's son went with him. Wait, Trent and Bill can't figure out who was with them. They swear there was a third guy in their boat. I do a quick head count. Hold the phone. There's 12 kids, one scout leader. He got out of 5 3-seater boats, and we had one too many kids, so one had to ride with him. That means there was an extra scout. Someone else was in the canoe with Trent and Bill. Get back to camp. Nobody believes Trent or Bill. They refuse to. I speak up and explain the math problem. Everyone gets quiet. Scout leader tries to regain control. All right. Tonight, we all sleep in the mess hall. We gather all our shit and bring it inside the dining area. Some kids are so freaked out that they sleep underneath the tables. Most don't sleep at all. I stayed up all night looking out the window, watching and waiting for someone to sneak up on us. Eventually pass out from pure exhaustion and get like 20 minutes of sleep before it's time to get up. Scout leader tells us what happened yesterday was one of the boats must have been a 2-seater on accident and we were just confused. Says not to worry and we'll all be fine. Nobody believes him, but we pretend like we do to keep from shitting ourselves. Go about the day's normal activities without anything too crazy happening. That night, we light a fire outside and start telling scary stories. Spend all night out by the campfire, just having a chill time. We all scoot our tents in closer to the fire and just kinda enjoy the night. I think the fire made us feel safe, which was an unfounded and dumb thing to feel, because of course, we weren't. What the fuck? Uh-oh. Drank too much lemonade. Tell Scoutmaster I have to pee. He gives me the key to the mess hall. I go inside and relieve myself. Logan and 2 other kids come inside after me and grab some bread to make toast with. Come back to the fire after locking the building up. Begin consuming burnt, bready goods. We're moving through bread fairly quickly. Say to Logan, "Didn't you guys all grab a loaf?" He says yeah and reaches for the 3rd one. It's not there. He starts flipping shit over looking for it. Asks who the fuck just took the last loaf of bread. Nobody has it. I ask him, "Who all went in with you?" He says, "Well, it was George and, George, who was with us?" George gets really quiet, and suddenly a wave of fear washes over him. He starts panicking. Somebody snuck in and stole a bread loaf right along with them. Some person who was dressed like a scout. That was the final straw for our scout leader. Decides to cut the trip short. Next morning, we all go to the van to leave. A few kids run independent head counts to ensure it's just 12 of us. We're all here. No more, no less. We all pile into the van and get the fuck out of Dodge. Get home and tell my mom we cut it short because there was a bear that stole some food from a tent. Too dangerous to stay. She bought it. About 2 hours later, my mom comes in my room and asks me, "Steve's parents want to know if he went straight home or did he go anywhere else after getting out of the van?" Think about it. I didn't see Steve get out of the van. Come to think of it, I don't remember sitting next to Steve. Did Steve even get in the fucking van? We counted 12 scouts. There were 12 of us. We had to be there. Wait, holy fucking shit. Mom calls scout leader, tells him what we think happened. He drives back to the camp, finds Steve barricaded in the mess hall. He took off for one final piss break, and we left without him. There was someone in the van with us, some other kid that nobody noticed, and like 3 people did head counts. Nobody noticed the stranger. Whoever this fucker is, he's in the city now. Talked to Steve a few days later. He says he heard growling outside of the doors, like there was a pack of dogs trying to speak English. Tell him he sounds crazy and say I don't believe him. But I fucking believe him. I never had any other troubles with whoever it was. Must have fucked off back to the woods or moved deeper into the city. And I know that isn't a textbook Skinwalker encounter right there, but I think it kind of was. I mean, just like the weird kind of like showing up and blending in, someone not talking, the miscounted over and over again, and then finally the end where the guy is talking about just it's like an animal trying to make a noise. That's very Skinwalker to me. And also the miscounted thing is something we will see in the future in a few more of these stories. Yeah, it just like I guess the Skinwalkers or just these weird creatures, Skinwalkers, just blend in, and then they just blend in perfectly, and no one can really tell the difference. And that kind of happens in a lot of these stories that I'm going to read in this video today. And this one wasn't nearly as scary as the ones in the future or the rest of the video, so stick around and they only get scarier from here. I've never told this story to anyone, and I don't really intend to tell it again. I have a pounding migraine today, and this thread has kept me good company as I've drifted in and out. I don't really like talking about this time in my life, but I want to contribute. When I was 10 to 12, I lived with my mother. We were well below the poverty level of poor. We lived up in the mountains around Santa Cruz, California. My mother had a friend that owned a large bit of property up there, and he let us stay in a trailer up there. Our trailer was very small and was right beside a garden. A chain link fence ran around the garden to keep the dog the owner had out, along with other animals. Deer and things are very common in the area. Also, inside the fenced area was a single room. It was built like a tiny house, but it was only a single room on the inside. This room had electricity, and since our actual trailer didn't, I spent a lot of my time in there. I was super into video games. Sorry, this story will be fairly long. I am bad at not writing a lot. I just want to tell it right, if this will be the only time. There was one thing you should know right now. This small fenced-in area was only a small part of the property, but most of it was heavily forested. Also, I refused to leave the fenced area because the owner's dog had been mistreated by children in the past and was very sketchy towards me all the time. If I was alone, it would bite at me, even through the fence. The fence was tall, at least 7 feet high, and wasn't movable though. So, as long as the gate was closed, I was safe. That said, a tiny bit of the property. There is no one else around for miles and miles. Now, I tell you all this because I think it is important you understand what kind of scene this was before I really get into this story. We have a fenced-in location that seems fairly safe. It contains a trailer and a single room with power that is not connected to the trailer. Nothing else around for miles. My mom's van is parked out in front of the gate to the fenced-in area, and a single unpaved road runs from this garden for about a mile to the main house. Now then, I brought friends up there to sleep over here and there. We all thought it was pretty cool, like camping out sort of. Besides, we would get our own room to stay in, to play video games all night long. It was like a dream come true. The downside was simple. When it got dark out, it got really dark out. No city around, and the trailer would not be lit up. There was no bathroom to use in the room, and you would have to walk through the dark garden in order to get to the trailer to use it. Odd things happened out here from time to time. It was always something that could be somewhat easily explained away though. Noises like people working at night sometimes, or once me and a friend were sitting out in the garden and we saw a shadow as big as a small bear bound up a tree, but the tree didn't shake there, so there was no weight on it. The dog also creeped me out, but angry dog, I was a kid, it happens. Now, I'm a scaredy cat. I always have been. To be honest, I don't know why I even come to here. I have trouble walking through a lit house if I'm alone. My friends, however, tend to be more outgoing. Just the kinds of people I get along with. This time I had a friend over. His name was Jacob. We were staying up all night and playing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles on my Sega Genesis on a ratty old television. We started playing as the sun went down, and by the time we were all finishing up the game, it was about 2 a.m. That's when we heard it. We turned off the game, getting ready to find something else to play. There was a rumbling in the woods behind the room we were in, like somebody was rolling something really heavy around. We hadn't heard it before because the noise from what we were playing was loud. Immediately, I had goosebumps. Jacob was not as worried about it though, but it's not like there was someone else's house or yard right over there. It was forest for miles, and it sounded like someone was constructing something or some shit, dragging or rolling something really big. Eventually, Jacob convinced me to just play some more games. I agreed on the condition that we turn the volume down so we could hear if something happened. We started playing, and I didn't even notice the noise stopped because I was getting engrossed. A couple hours later, Jacob said he had to use the bathroom. I was feeling fine by then, so I was fine when he left to use the trailer to relieve himself. He was taking a while, so eventually I decided I was going to check on him. Besides, I could use the bathroom and grab a snack while I was at it. I opened the door to leave, and he was just standing at the doorway, right outside the door, facing it. Scared the shit out of me. I asked him what he was doing, and he just stood there, blocking the exit. I realized he must have sneaked up to the door because I could hear him walk away from the room, but I hadn't heard him walk back up to it. It was super quiet out there without the noise of the city. I should have been able to hear him. He refused to say anything or respond. He just stood there. I told him he was really creeping me out, but it was not unlike him to try and scare me like this. Finally, I decided to just go to the trailer and use the bathroom myself, partially because I knew my mother was asleep in there. I told him what I was doing, then moved past him. When I pushed him out of the way, his skin felt freezing to the touch. I jumped a little, but it was a cold night and he had been standing out there for like 30 minutes, so I figured that was to be expected. I walked as quickly as I could over to the trailer. He followed me, like right on my tail. It was unnerving. I joked a little, saying that he already surprised me by scaring me at the door. The joke is over already. Finally, I got to the trailer and walked in. He didn't follow, just stayed at the doorway. I checked on my mom, who was fast asleep, then turned to go into the bathroom. Now, it being a porta potty, we keep the bathroom door shut because it, smells bad. When I reached for the door and tried to open it though, it's locked. A nervous voice came from behind the door. I'm in here. I quickly turned to look at Jacob, but the door was still open and there was nothing there but pitch black night. I freeze in terror. I would have heard the bathroom door open if he had come in behind me and gone that way. There was no way to do it quietly. It creaks like a motherfucker. I yelped so loud that my mom woke up startled. I stared at the doorway, unable to bring myself to move a muscle. She got up, walked over there, and looked out. Not seeing anything, she closed the door and asked me what was wrong. By now, Jacob was coming out of the bathroom and acting perfectly normal, but a bit confused. I explained what had happened. Jacob said he was just taking a really long time in the bathroom, basically. Neither of them believed me at all, no matter how much I insist. My mom is sure that I just got sleepy and imagined it. Jacob thought I was trying to prank him. So my mom gets out a big flashlight and walks us back to the room. She tells us to go to sleep, then leaves and goes back to bed herself. Now, this room doesn't have any windows or anything, so after a while, I calm back down a little. I'm telling myself that my mom was right. I must have had like a waking dream or something. Jacob insists he was in the bathroom the whole time, and I'm inclined to believe him because there is just no way to really get around without being heard. So I settle down. I'm a little rattled, but I'm thinking I can just sleep it off through the night. Suddenly, the dog starts going nuts right behind us. The room is up against the fence, so the dog must have been like right behind the room on the other side. I felt like I jumped so high, I was surprised I didn't hit the roof. Jacob's laughing at me like, ha, dog barking at a squirrel or some shit, and you are shitting yourself. It keeps going like that for a long time though. Suddenly, the barking stops and gets replaced by whimpering. We heard the dog run away. There are like 45 seconds of silence before we hear something new. A small scratching sound on the back wall of the room. We both try to be as silent as we can. Eventually, it stops. After 5 or so minutes of silence, Jacob decides to be brave. He insists he is going to get my mother up, tell her something crazy is going on, and we're going to go from there. With some kind of divine adult protection, no doubt. I wish he wouldn't leave me alone, but there's no way I'm going out there. Never ever. He arms himself as best he can with a tennis racket we had in the room with us. Then he takes a couple deep breaths and opens the door and dashes out. I close it as quick as I can behind him. In less than 30 seconds, I hear a scream. Not long after, the door flies open and he comes back in looking as pale as a ghost. He's breathing like he just ran a marathon. His eyes look as big as dinner plates. I ask what is going on like 4 times before he finally starts getting words out. He tells me he walked out there, and as he was walking through the garden as quick as he could, he saw my mom just standing there. He tried to talk to her, but she stared at him with a blank expression, getting super creeped out because of what happened to me earlier. He took a couple more steps towards her, telling her that he thought something was in the woods. Suddenly, her face turned to an awkward smile. Then he realized something terrible. He hadn't noticed sooner because of the darkness and how much of a hurry he had been in. She was on the other side of the fence. Now, the door to this room does not lock, and as I explained earlier, this room has no windows. He had been trying to move stuff in front of the door as he told this story, and by the end, I was helping him. In retrospect, whatever was harassing us seemed to be adverse to actually entering the room or the trailer because the Jacob one didn't come in either time he could have, and this room was not sturdy. Either way, we stacked everything we could against the door, thinking somehow that, like cartoons, this would totally definitely keep the creature out. For the rest of the night, we heard scratches coming from all around the room. I cried. Jacob looked like his mind had left his body with fear. At one time, I thought I heard it speak too. I heard from right next to where I was resting against the wall, in my mother's voice, quietly, the same exact phrasing and intonation she had used earlier in the night. "What's wrong?" followed immediately by, "Go to sleep." The sun must have come up eventually. The scratching eventually stopped, and we heard my mom come to get us. This time, actually, hearing footsteps. We absolutely refused to leave the room. My mom had to go get the property owner and had him take the door off. When we saw that it was actually her, I burst into tears again. We never had any experiences like this again and eventually moved away. But that night still haunts me. I still refuse to go out at night unless I'm with a bunch of people, and I will never, ever live in the woods again. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed hearing about this. If you want me to make an image and repost it, feel free. I probably won't tell this again though. Thanks for listening. I have a story. A few actually. I didn't really think much of these until recently. When I was about 12, I lived in Georgia. I lived on the coast, near Savannah, on one of the islands out there. The island had its own grocery store, a few drive-ins, 2 gas stations, and some odd and end store. 5-ish miles away was an island with a Walmart. We could go to the third island or Savannah for anything else. Most of the island, though, was marshland and woods, in addition to housing developments. Most of the housing developments were newer, 20-ish years, but the neighborhood I lived in was older and thus poorer than the others. I had a small group of friends, and my friends and I used to go exploring the woods and marshes. It's worth noting that I'm not from the South, and that I've been homeschooled most of my life due to the constant moving. Parents' jobs, and this made me sort of an outsider with my good old boys and girls, friends, and although I remember everything about them and knew a ton about them, I really doubt any of them remember me at all, and none of them cared enough to learn much about me, and I was that guy, an outsider with the group. This is important to remember when it comes to my stories. The first story took place towards the end of the summer. This is technically the second story, order-wise, but it's probably best told first. I caught a head cold and spent 3 days sleeping nonstop in my room and only told my best friend, Hank, this over the phone. The weather had cooled down a bit, but it was still warm even at night, so we had taken to camping a lot in the woods near our houses and sometimes further from home because it was perfect weather for that. When I was sick, my friends went camping with me. What happens now is a retelling of what H and other friend, his cousin Andy, told me after I got better and left my house. Hank, Andy, Hank's girlfriend, Michelle, and 3 of their mutual friends had been hanging out all day and decided last minute to camp in the woods near Hank's house. So they pitched a few tents right inside the woods, nearish to a pond that was between his house and the woods, and got to goofing around. Shortly after dark, they heard loud splashing in the pond, like someone was swimming late at night, but didn't bother to go and check it out, and it wasn't out of the question that someone would be swimming that late out there. A few minutes later, though, I apparently showed up at the campsite, soaking wet and acting kind of off. Apparently, I didn't say anything. I just came up, sat down near the fire, and started watching people, really awkwardly. Hank ends up asking me if I'm feeling all right, and I told him I was fine. I just felt lonely and decided to join them, and his mother told me where he was. Now, only he knew I had been sick, and he didn't apparently want to bring it up because Andy was a major germaphobe, so he just sort of shrugged it off, and then they went on with their evening to the best of their abilities while I sat there, not talking, just watching them. After a while, I dried off, and both Hank, Andy, and everyone else there told me I started stinking, and I got the creative nickname of Stinky because of this, like a dead animal. Michelle started gagging from it apparently, and everyone jokingly told me to take a shower. So I got up, walked out of the woods in front of them, and Hank, Michelle, and Andy followed me, thinking they'd hurt my feelings, only to see me calmly walk into the pond until I was up to my waist, dive in the rest of the way, come back up a bit later, and walk back out, all without saying anything. It's worth noting that I'm not a good swimmer, and I hate diving due to the fear of inhaling water and choking, so the chances of me doing that, especially fully clothed, are pretty fucking slim. After that, I apparently sat back down and resumed being awkward. When I started smelling again after drying off, they kindly decided to not bring it up, although Michelle told me later I smelled like I was rotting, and she kept moving further from me because of it. Time goes by and everyone decides to go to bed, aside from me saying I'm fine. I've apparently said nothing, and they've basically forgotten I'm there. Hank tells me to go home. He said he was basically insisting because no one wanted to share a tent with me, but I refused, and Andy and another friend, Corey, decided to share a tent with me, so they go in, and apparently had to call me into the tent repeatedly, and once I did go in, I just laid down on the floor, facing the wall, nothing under me. Due to the stink, apparently neither of them could get to the sleep very easily, and according to Corey, I'd constantly turn my head really oddly and watch them. This went on until about 5 a.m. when I suddenly got up, standing as high as I could in the tent, walked out, and that was it. They didn't see me again until about 36 hours later when I left my house finally. Although it probably isn't that spooky, I know I didn't go out there. I've tried shrugging it off as a joke or me being delusional, but I'm really pretty damn sure I didn't go out there at all. I was sick, and I'm a big baby when I'm sick. Hank even told me it was weird that I wasn't bitching about having him feel bad, and that I wasn't harassing Andy over his germ issues. And I clearly remember doing nothing but sleeping, playing video games, looking at corn on shitty ass dial up, and watching Sci-Fi Channel. In addition, my room was 3 stories up, and if I'd left it, I would have woken up my parents, who wake really damned easily, had they been asleep when I was supposedly headed out there. And they weren't. I remember my mom coming into my room to watch TV with me at around that time. But on the other hand, I doubt my friends were smart enough to have an elaborate lie like that, and that they'd care enough to tell it. And they seemed very sincere. That, and Hank's mom later confirmed that I had, in fact, stopped by and asked where they were, and that she noted I smelled awful and seemed off, but assumed it was because I was sick and hadn't bathed. His mom and mine, who had been friends, had a major falling out arguing over whether or not I'd showed up there, and none of my friends ever believed me. I never thought much of it, figured it was a mean joke or something until recently. This is probably tied to an earlier event that happened over the summer. Over the summer, we found in the woods an area that had been converted into a paintball fort. Lots of elaborate tunnels/trenches and a few sheds and buildings. It was all really cool, but apparently abandoned. Some of it was flooded, for example. And we spent a good few afternoons playing out there, even though it was always sort of unnerving. You felt watched, you know? A good example is, I remember Michelle joking that some big burly guys could pop out from the tunnels, kill us, and kidnap her. She did it sort of nervously, like you do when you're trying to make yourself feel better by joking about your fears. And one afternoon, we headed out there on our bikes and we were goofing around, pretending to be soldiers or something. We did this for hours, Andy, Michelle, Hank, Corey, and a few other people. It got dark out, and I found myself alone in one of the trenches when I started to hear splashing from one of the submerged tunnels. I figured someone had fallen in or been pushed in, and didn't think much of it. A few minutes later, Corey jumped into the trench with me. Now, if someone else was an outsider, it was him. He was fat, annoying, and weird. So what happened next wasn't that out of character for him, although it still made me uncomfortable. He came up beside me and just sat there and watched while smiling way too much. I tried to carry on with the game, especially since I was the drill sergeant. I'd hit puberty early, so my voice was fucking deep, and they pitched me for it. But he was just distracting as shit and weirding me out. Finally, I just locked eyes with him and just tried to stare him down. He didn't blink, didn't move, didn't do anything. Just looked back at me, smiling. And then I realized he was soaking wet. Part of me, I remember, was worried someone had tried to drown him and made him literally retarded. But about then, he reached out, put both hands on my shoulders, gripped me as tightly as he could, at bruises, and just stared, smiling as broadly as he fucking could. And then he let go, got up and left. He did it for maybe 15 seconds. Any longer, and I'd have fucking screamed. And then just left. Nothing said. I just sat there, bewildered and a bit frightened, and I remember realizing that he was fucking freezing. It was hot and humid out still. My shirt was stuck to my back from sweat, and I felt greasy the entire summer, but he was freezing. I figured he was from the water, got out, and tried to follow him, but he was nowhere to be seen. I went in a trench with Andy and a couple other people and carried on for a bit, but they realized I wasn't really in the game anymore, and we stopped playing a bit later. I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. Corey was dry when we got on our bikes and left. I think I either didn't think about it, or I thought he just dried fast in the heat and never mentioned any of it anymore, as he was a bit weird in general. We didn't play out there again, though. My last story happened a bit after the second, close to Halloween. We'd all gotten cheap Halloween masks at Walmart and decided one night to play tag outside while wearing them. We did that for a few hours. It was actually more like a tag/hide-and-go-seek combo, and it took a while to finish playing. I remember clearly, though, that there were 6 of us out there. Everyone mentioned, plus Michelle's friend, and that at multiple times I saw a 7th person wearing a mask we didn't have. I figured it was someone switching masks until later, when I realized no one had a mask like that. I then sort of decided not to mention it, one because I figured it was this weird girl who lived down the street who actually would have been too short, and 2 because I didn't want to spook anyone. Nothing really scary happened. We'd just been running, and I'd seen them running the opposite direction and go hiding or something like that. It was just weird. Actually, stuff where we'd come up with one extra happened occasionally, but no one really thought anything more than we miscounted. And remember earlier when I said there'd be more miscounted things in the future? Like the first story, there was the big miscounting, and then boom, happened again. That's weird. I guess skinwalkers kind of just, hide right underneath your nose, and you just don't really know. That's so scary. And all these stories, they all have the kind of same characteristics, which is terrifying. They're cold. They don't speak a lot. They smile. They make kind of human, actions, but they're not human at all. Super scary. And I've got one more story for you guys. Okay, so I have a story. Not sure if it is paranormal, but it freaked me out. Live in Arizona. Went camping with some work friends in Sedona area, near river, wooded area. One friend has speech issues, had some roticism issues, couldn't say R sounds very well. Anyway, went camping in a remote area. Set up camp near river since it was before mosquito season. Roticism guy is quiet type, just sort of falls into background. Don't see much of him. Everyone is running around exploring and swimming. Gets dark, things settle down. Roticism guy is still not around, but no one is too worried. Grown-ass man can take care of himself, not that late either. Getting dark, starting to worry. Roticism guy finally shows. Takes seat by campfire, stares blankly into it. Asks if he is okay. Yes. Asks where he was. Says nothing. He has always been aloof and quiet, so we just let it go. He's back, safe. That is all that matters. Start having fun with other friends again. Forget about Roticism guy. He just sort of slips into the background as always. Go to bed. Roticism guy and others stay up. Felt good going to bed, but couldn't fall asleep. Got more and more restless, drifting in and out. Kind of have to piss, although maybe that would help me sleep. Get out of tent. Roticism guy still in his exact spot. Barely able to see him from the burned down coals. Nearly shit myself. Creepy as fuck. Fuck, just can't describe it. He was sitting there completely still, just looking at the coals. Rub hands together and put them near the fire pit, like he was warming them with a big fire. Not sure what to do. He turns and looks at me. Finally decided to say something. Maybe something freaked him out from when he disappeared. Maybe he saw a dead body or something and now is in a catatonic state. Start calming down. You okay? It is like 4 a.m. Suddenly stands up and starts talking, acts cheery, but can't seem to put emotions behind it. Babbles on for a few moments about the sun coming up and getting another good hike in before having to leave. Wants to go for a hike with me, like right that damn second. Doesn't want anyone else to come or know where we are going. Doesn't want me to even change clothes or put on shoes. Gets more and more persistent. Suddenly realize that he's pronouncing words perfectly. Roticism guy cannot say words correctly for his life. This guy has not messed up a single word. Start freaking the fuck out. Say that I'm going to wake up others. Go towards the tents. Rattle them. Yell to friends that it is time to get up. Never take eyes off a Roticism guy. He sits down. Returns to his pose of just staring at the coals. Most friends get up. Pretty pissed at me. No fucks are given about that. Say anything needed to keep them up. One guy bitches about the coal, talks about getting firewood. Roticism guy offers to join him. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Don't know what to do. Our Roticism guy try to lie to keep him still or just let friend go off with him and be thankful it is not me. Retarded me. I volunteer to join them. Roticism guy stares at me for a moment. Might have been a glare, might have been just a calculating stare. Either way, I know that I saved my friend's life. Roticism guy follows us slowly, just really fucking creepy. Like he didn't fit in with us. Do not leave friend's side for a second. Keep looking back at Roticism guy. Friend gets the idea that something is up. He starts looking back at Roticism guy too. Get the damn firewood, get back, never take eyes off of Roticism guy again. Friend does the same. He seems to get that Roticism guy is acting weird, just stares blankly. Doesn't talk unless spoken to. Will do out of place actions, like he'll kneel down and pull his shoelaces around, like he is pretending to tie them. All the others return to sleep for a few hours. Once people wake up, no one but me and my friend notice that Roticism guy's weird. He will randomly talk to others, trying to get them to go off alone with him. No one does since he was always so weird about it. He asked one guy if he wanted to go to piss, for example. Roticism guy might be quiet as fuck. He isn't that a spite. Keep close eye on him. Make sure no one gets alone with him. Pack up, time to go. I'm driving. Once we get near Sedona, Roticism guy asks to be let out. Says he'll walk home. Fucker lives in Phoenix, 2-hour drive. Let him out. Do not give any fucks. Just want him out of the damn car. Others seem confused, but I don't care. He gets out, we drive off. Stare at him. He doesn't move, just twitches a little bit. Make turn, can't see him anymore. Immediately tell others what happened. Slightly scared that he'll jump out and start going gorilla on the car or some shit, but nothing. Others comment that he was just being weird, but still don't agree with just leaving him. Can't seem to convey that he wasn't being weird. No one by the firewood friend believes me. He doesn't speak up much. Drop it. Back at work. Roticism guy doesn't show up for a few days. When he does get back, stays far away from me. Not sure what to do, but he seems to be back to normal. Doesn't offer to go to the bathroom with any more people anyway. Eventually talk to him. He's pissed as to why we just left him out there. Yell at him for being so damn creepy. And besides, he asked to be let out. More arguing of the facts until I get it. He claims that I took him to show him something on the first day. Walked for hours, then I disappeared. He was lost in the woods the entire damn time. That was not Roticism guy that spent the night with us. Never speak of it again. Never tell Roticism guy my side of the story. And wow, that one was creepy as well. They all kind of followed the same kind of, not formula, but they all had similar characteristics. Just the person acted weird. They looked like people. They looked like the person. They could talk like the person, but they just weren't people. And that's exactly what skinwalkers are, guys. Just scary as hell. Just people acting like people that you know. They know how to speak. They know how to try to lead you away. But man, skinwalker stories are scary as hell. I got goosebumps from all the stories. Those are so scary, so weird, and so creepy. And I really hope you guys enjoyed these stories. I enjoyed them a lot, and this is like the 4chan kind of version of them. You guys have been asking for some Reddit ones, but, thought I'd switch it up a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. And if you guys enjoyed this Skinwalker Encounters video, comment down below if you'd like to see, some more 4chan Skinwalker Encounters 2.0 sometime in the future. If this one does really good, if this one gets like 10,000 likes or something crazy like that. I don't even know if that's possible, but yeah, if you guys really enjoy it, I'll definitely make another one. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. That's awesome. Also, if I do make another one in the future, would you like to see it like an hour long, shorter, longer, somewhere in the middle like this one that's like 40 minutes long roughly? And yeah, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I'm just yapping at this point, but I appreciate you all. You guys are all the best, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching. And this is Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.